here we go. Yeah, it wasn't all the way up. Okay, and there we go. And with that, ooh, oh, a bit echoey. Mm, now that's on. I'm probably just too close to the mic, but okay, so perfect. And let me actually turn down the music a bit. And there we go. Alright, so hello everyone. Sorry for the delay if you're watching this live, but I am back. Finally, give it a little bit of ooh, excuse me, a little bit about what's been going on before I start the podcast. One, why I had to push this back to today, or basically Sunday, because I am like 15 minutes late, was because I did post on my Twitter and YouTube post that I was finishing up the anime, just a few more episodes, and I was reading the manga too to compare how different the manga is from the anime. So I wanted to finish everything first before the podcast. So I figured I could finish both by tomorrow, by today, which I was. So that's why I pushed it back, just so I can fully give you guys a comparison, especially since the anime and the manga are very different. But for anime back in that time, it's not all that different. I mean, they even do it kind of nowadays, not as much. They sometimes mostly wait for the anime to kind of be finished before they rush it and give like an anime ending. But this is basically kind of what happened with this. I'm assuming the time the anime was being made, the manga was still ongoing. Cause you could definitely tell for the first like beginner half of the anime and manga, it's basically like 1 to 1. So that's when you're like, okay. And then you can kind of tell from where the anime did something different to what the manga eventually ended up doing different, which is crazy different actually. But another thing is, crazy enough, I don't know what caused it. It is feeling a little better, but I do have something that I can use to help it maybe fully fixing it. I remember I told you guys like around the time Christmas happened, I had gotten this weird ear infection that was affecting me for like a week. And I told you it only affected one of my ears. Well, it came back and then now it started messing up the other ears. I'm like, oh my god, I can't deal with this right now. So literally for the past like 2 days, it's been weird, tingling, kind of swelling, hurting. Not as bad as literally last month, but bad enough. And I think I've said this, but I found out that apparently this is something genetic. Because my mom told me she had ear problems. My grandma has ear problems. My siblings had it when they were really, really young, so that's why we kind of didn't remember. But it's just kind of weird that now it's affecting me. But apparently it's something that runs in the family, so. So that's another thing, kind of why. Normally I kind of do something after the podcast, but with the fact that my ear is still not 100%, I probably will just do the podcast, do a little wrap up, re-inform you what the next podcast episode will be. I mean, if you go to my YouTube, you'll see the waiting for that is already up. But yeah, normally I do something after podcast to kind of give it a little bit longer, especially if the anime isn't super long or I run through it kind of fast. But with this, especially since I've forgotten this anime is actually 24 episodes, not 12 or 13. I don't know why I thought it was like 12 or 13. But when I went to go look it up to watch it, I was like, oh, this is 24. I don't remember it being 24. But I'm like, okay. So yeah. The rest of you will have a bit. So like I said, I'll talk about the anime. I'll go into the manga as well. And just kind of give you guys a little bit about Karin, aka Chibi Vampire Karin. So you can kind of find under two names. The anime would be under Karin, while the manga is under Chibi Vampire, as you'll see right there. So with that, even right now it's kind of affecting me. What's the thing? We'll go through our synopsis, we'll do our characters, then we'll go a little bit of the story, and then yeah. So with that, we'll be talking about Karin. the 24 Fall 2005 anime. It ran from November 3rd of 2005 to May 11th to 2006. The producers of this were WoW, Frontier Works, Kodaka Shoten, and Half HP Studios. The licensors were Funimation and Geno Entertainment USA. The studio that created it was JC Staff. Source material is manga. Genre you'll find this under are comedy, romance, and supernatural. Themes are school and vampire, and the demographic is shonen. So with that, we'll hop into the synopsis. That's on my anime list. Vampires, supernatural beings that feed on the life essence of the unexpected at night, have been around for centuries. How? Excuse me. Another thing, currently random from the anime. Uh, I had a family member fall sick like 2 days ago as well. Actually had to, well not two, actually fell sick around Thursday. Had to leave work early. They weren't feeling well. And since their job mainly deals with like a lot of talking, yeah, a job like that, you feel sick, it's best to go home. Otherwise, you'll just ruin your throat and just make it worse. And then had to call out Friday because still wasn't feeling better. So it's just everyone's kind of got something. However, back to the synopsis. High schooler Karin Maka is unusual, even among her own kind. Unlike her vampire family, ever since she was a child, Karin has suffered from phonocytin. I've never. I don't remember them saying it. Just says, but from remembering the anime, they kind of just say she gets nosebleeds or her blood increases, it overflows. A rare disease in which causes her to periodically produce excess amount of blood, and the more blood she produces, the more anemic and lightheaded she gets, ultimately leading to frequent nosebleeds. Her only solution: force her excess blood onto random strangers, which surprisingly causes these victims to become livelier and happier than before. With her sibling Anju, her reserved yet affectionate younger sister, and Ren, her womanizing elder brother, helping her abilities remain a secret by altering the affected human's memories, none is the wiser. That is until Karen's newly transferred classmate Kenta Usui finds her behavior suspicious. And to make matters even more complicated, Karen feels her blood reacting unusually to Kenta's presence. So with that, we'll hop into the characters. And first one, which of course is our main character and main heroine, Karin Maka. Her birthday is October 13th. And she actually goes by two names. In the anime, they call her an unvampire, since she is kind of the opposite. Instead of sucking blood, she produces it and kind of injects it into her victims, compared to the rest of her kind and her family. But in the manga, I didn't know that at some point they call her by a different name, which I guess I'll say it. It's not, you kind of doesn't really say anything without won't spoil anything without the content, but they call her the Spring of the Psyche. So she's the protagonist of the show. She's a blood-producing vampire. Rather than need to acquire blood from humans, her body produces too much blood. To make matters worse, her blood level increases drastically when she senses unhappiness in those around her, or if she gets embarrassed about something. The result to frequent no losses, followed by anemic episodes of this lightheadedness, which causes frequent visits to the school nurse office so she can rest. She does not suck blood from her victims, rather she injects her surplus into them instead. It has the effect of making her victims more vibrant, lively, and positive. Which actually that is, we actually don't get why well, not really why, but we only get the information that the unhappiness is what she's drawn to. They kind of go a bit more into that into the show, which I'll get to that point too. Next, we have our main I almost said heroine again. Our main protagonist, the male one, Kenta Usui. His birthday is February 29th. He's a new transfer student to Karen's high school. He's also her workmate. Kenta is the only human that knows of Karen's vampiric nature. He learns what she was after witnessing her biting three victims, one of which was his own mother. He has promised to keep this knowledge a secret. As his unhappiness causes Karen's blood to rapidly increase, she has taken upon herself to cheer him up by making him a bento every day. He could not afford to buy his own lunch and is therefore grateful to her. Next, we have her little sister Anju. You'll see her in the show or in the manga. She's the one with the really long white hair, which, funny enough, still works out in the manga because her hair, they didn't color her hair and in the show they made her hair white. So she's Karen's younger sister and she absolutely loves her, close to the point of obsession. She will do anything for Karen. She was not quite awakened as a vampire, causing her to be somewhat sensitive to the sun and resulting in her only attending school on overcast days. However, she does have amazing control over bats despite this. Oh, there was one thing I noticed that the anime did different from the manga. Because since we do this going on, but eventually, well, I guess I should probably talk about it first, because this is something that happens. So there's a certain time when they reach a certain age that vampires pretty much stop being like humans. They can't be outside anymore. They don't have taste for human food, and that's when their vampiric like instincts and whatnot start like fully awakening. At this point, Ren, her older brother, is well past the age and has been a full-fledged vampire for many years. But at the beginning of the show, Anju still has not fully awakened as a vampire. So, like it said, she could still kind of go out on just not super hot, sunny days. But at one point, she does start to go through the same process that Ren and Karen kind of did, but the opposite, kind of, and does end up awakening to her vampire abilities. And one thing we also do learn is that each vampire are drawn to the blood of very specific traits. Well, traits is not really the right word, but very certain things that they're drawn to in their victims. It's why they are, I guess in a way, still kind of drawn to them. So for I hope I remember this correctly, her mom likes liars, so she likes the blood from liars. Those are like the best for her. Actually, I think that's like the only one that she can like take. I think whatever type you are drawn to, that's like the only one you can give it to. Pretty much. So yeah, her mom likes the blood of liars. Her dad, I believe they said, was like proud people. We do learn by episode, what was it, like 3 or 4, when we meet her brother for the first time, we find out that his is actually stress. So the more stressed out someone is, the more he is drawn to drink their blood. And then Anju, we find out that, well, like I said, in the anime, they did something different. And then when I was reading the manga, I was like, oh, wait. That's not how I remember her type being. But in the anime, they made her like blood preference jealousy, but in the manga, it was loneliness. So that's why I'm like, huh. I wonder why they changed it. But I guess considering how the anime ended up going compared to how the manga went, I guess her ability being different would make more sense. It wouldn't be like, if you read the manga, it actually makes more sense why her blood affinity is loneliness compared to instead of jealousy. So yeah. Actually was one character too that, funny enough, didn't play that big of a role in the manga, but did in the anime, and that is Anju's pet. Not really pet, but the doll she always carries, Boogie. He is Anju's sarcastic talking doll. He often tells Karen how useless she is, which leads to Anju punishing him. The other dolls in Anju's room also talk and have their own personalities, but Boogie is her favorite. Boogie is actually a murderer spirit trapped in a doll who became upset when he is away from Anju too long. In Volume 3 of the manga, one of Anju's classmates takes him, with grave consequences until Anju comes to take him back. But yeah, he does play more of a character in the actual anime. On the manga, he talks like maybe once or twice, but that's about it. He doesn't really play that big a role in the story. Um, and then we have her mother, Karin, or Karina. She is the wife of, the head of the family, which would be her father. She's quite demurring and usually keeps her husband under her thumb. Oh, okay, I did put it here. Yeah, her blood type or preference is the blood of liars, which she drinks like a fine wine, which is actually pretty funny. So you think she's drinking wine? No, it's just blood, but it's just how she likes to drink it. Um, I guess it's kind of a no, it's kind of a spoiler. But she does have one person that we do meet later on, not till like episode like 14 or 15, that she really, really, really doesn't like, and it turns out to be her mother-in-law, which would be, her father's mother. And funny enough, when you meet her, you definitely see where Karen gets her looks from, because she is basically a one-to-one copy of her grandmother. So it's pretty funny that, the woman she hates, she ended up giving birth to a daughter that looks exactly like her. Next, we have her father, Henry Marker. He's a vampire who's portrayed as surprisingly human. He seems to act in a way one might call silly. Despite Karen's teenage status at age 16, Henry still views Karen as extremely young, which I think that kids are that's like a father thing. They never want to kind of fully acknowledge that their daughter is growing up into a woman. That she'll eventually, leave the house, go explore the world, get into romantic relationships and whatnot. Um, Despite Karen's abnormalities and flaws, he still loves her dearly. This is something Karen's first suffered a nosebleed at a human school. He braved the sunlight to rescue Karen from the hospital workers, who would have realized she was a vampire upon examination, and is severely burned in the process. Henry suffers normal parental jealousy when the possibility of love between Karen and Usui arise. Like I said, typical father. Henry is often pushed about by his wife, but has a fierce side which he rarely allows the world to see. Like most other vampires, he has a bad familiar which remains unnamed, but has glowing red eyes. There's quite a few characters more. Next would be her older brother, Ren. He's 21. He's the oldest of the family. Has no qualms about sucking blood and believes vampires to be superior to humans. However, he prefers female victims, seducing female victims and often spending days in their companies before he's done with them, and refuses to suck blood on male, or suck on male blood, I should say, and seem to act abiding as metaphor for sexual intercourse, and often commits both acts simultaneously. Ren often appears annoyed at Karen for her seemingly lacking reverent abilities and her friendliness towards humans. While he will listen to his father Henry, Andrew is often the one who calms him when he's annoyed or suddenly provoked him into acting in certain ways. He greatly fears. I was like, who? Character I haven't talked about, who openly affection manner when he was a child causes him to flee at the mere sight or mention of her, which would be their grandma, pretty much. Next would be her best friend, Maki. You'll recognize her as the girl with the green hair and the show with the pigtails. She supports Karen through her troubles, but doesn't stop her from ripping Karen mercilessly about Usui. Maki does not know that Karen is a vampire. She's the only girl who didn't swoon over a certain character when he first arrived at the show, but slowly starts to fall for him despite the fact he's always trying to romance Karen. This person always refers to Maki as Karen's friend, much to Maki's annoyance. I didn't say who this person was because, funny enough, when I was actually going through when I was reading the manga, I was like, wait, this person isn't popping up. What's going on? Did some more research, and turns out that this person is basically an entirely made up person that's only in the anime. He was never in the manga. So that's when I'm like, you can kind of tell where the anime and the manga kind of deviate when it starts being different because we get introduced to a character that never made an appearance in the manga at all. So him and that entire storyline he's connected to doesn't happen in the manga. It's only something that the anime came up with. And that character is Wigner Sinclair, a vampire hunter descended from a long line of hunters. Winter is very melodramatic, and his hunting garb is flamboyant, a black flowing neo-style long overcoat with a white crest and a golden W plastered on the front, and a huge wide brim hat with a feather sticking out of it. His blonde gold looks makes him extremely popular with the girls at school, and his cool appearance is also commented on by passing strangers. He transferred to Karen's high school and falls in love with her at first sight, constantly making romantic overture towards her. Despite being a vampire hunter, he does not know about Karen's true nature, as he is blinded by love and possibly also because he doesn't seem like the brightest person in the room. So, as a child, he met a girl with whom he shared his first kiss. However, the girl he kissed was unknown to him at the time, actually a younger Karen who bit him and injected her blood into him. There is one massive, I could just say block, that is stopping Winter from becoming a kind of true and true vampire hunter, and that is he has hemophobia, aka fear of blood, which goes as far as feeling sick when seeing splattered red paint. So basically, anything that looks like blood, anything that is blood, he cannot handle. So kind of funny enough that he's a vampire hunter, but he can't handle blood. We do also get introduced to his grandfather, I believe. That's not his father, that's his grandfather, who's, taking him in, taught him everything he knows. And we do find out the connection between his family and Karen's family, and kind of why they became vampires hunters in the first place. And last character I want to talk about. This is the elusive character we don't meet till like episode 15. This would be Elda Maka, Karen's grandmother. Karen bears a remarkable resemblance to her. The only difference any character seems to notice is Elda's smaller breasts to Karen's much larger ones, and the fact that her hair is pink and she has red eyes. Ren is scared stiff of her. He first met her when he was 4, before Karen and Anju were born, and she almost killed him with affection. Elder first appears when she breaks free from her sealed coffin in the family home. Her blood preference is love, um, and she has quite the crazy and wild personality and takes quite a great interest in Karen. Funny enough, at first, when she is introduced and getting to know her granddaughters that she didn't even know were a thing, her parents tell her, "Listen, do not, under any circumstance, let your grandmother find out that you are, well, they call her an unvampire in this, you know." So, get like they don't know what she'll do. So like, and she's very in what's the word? Not inclusive. Well, maybe it is inclusive. She'll get into your business. So she's like, that's even more of a thing for you since you are still going to a human school. So, just kind of keep your wits about you. Don't reveal too much, because it's not going to turn good for you. So, with that, I'll just kind of go through a little bit of the episodes, what they did, how the story wrapped up anime wise. Then I'll talk about how the manga ended and kind of not give too much, because honestly, I kind of him after finishing it, I kind of wish they did like a remake of this and did it following the manga, because how that ended, I think I like that way better than how the anime ended. Like, way better. But like I said from the beginning, it's pretty much the same. So we meet Karen, we meet her life. Pretty much from point out, she points out, yeah, I'm not like normal people. I'm not even like most of my family. Finding out that she is of vampire lineage, but comes to learn that she is unlike other vampires. Instead of sucking blood, she makes it and injects it into people. She could be out in the day. She still eats human food, so she is kind of weird enough, like a weird human vampire hybrid. Even though she is fully from two vampire parents, she can be out in the sun, be out during the day, go to school, go to work, so it's kind of weird. And they have no idea what's causing this. And honestly, I actually like this explanation that they explained in the manga a lot better on why she is like that. You find out that it's not just some random occurrence. Apparently, it's something that happens once every 100 years that there is a vampire like her that goes through the same thing, and that they're very special for certain reasons. So I won't explain why. Like I said, I definitely think with that, sorry, my ear. You definitely should just go watch not watch, read the manga to see why that is, what makes her so different from other vampires, and kind of the fate that falls before her because of that. But then at that point, we meet her family, find out that the boy Kenta, saw her bite the first guy in the park. He is totally thrown off. He thinks that maybe she was kissing that guy. The fact that she is a high school student and that guy was clearly someone in like his 20s or 30s, thinking that maybe she's one of those subsidiator type of girls that was like a thing that they popped up a lot in. Well, and they still do it in certain genres, of girls dating older guys for money. High school student girls dating older guys for money. Um, but of course, she at first doesn't want to, even after being told that, I can't do the opposite and tell this guy I was actually biting him because I'm somewhat of a vampire. That's when her brother pops up with a girl, and we kind of learn pretty quick away. There was one scene in that same episode when he asks, like, they're trying to learn more about like why her blood's reacting to Usui, and kind of learning more about her, abilities and whatnot as a vampire. So he does say this one line. I'm trying to remember how he said it verbatim, but something like, "You probably think I'm just some horny dog that only wants one thing from women." And Karen's like, "You're not?" And he's like, "That's about half right." So she's like, "Oh, so I was still right." But then he explains that he's mainly, well, kind of half other doing it, um, because the people or the women he goes after are the ones that have his blood affinity or his preference, showing that the girl he would just put a picture of how she looked before he met her, how she looked all drained and stressed out and whatnot, explaining that his affinity is stress. So when he did eventually drink her blood, it like livened her up, it removed all her stress, and became more lively, more happy, more upbeat. So that's when Karen puts two to two together. She's like, "Oh, so in your case, when you're drinking their blood, you're taking away their stress." She's like, "Well, okay." So they're like, even though you aren't kind of like us, you do have one vampire trait in a way, where you are drawn to certain people of certain traits or attributes or whatever. So they're like, "Okay, so let's just do a little test. Let's see what it is. We can get more of a point pick down on what exactly it is that you're being drawn to." That's when they run into his mom, not knowing that that's his mom. She's standing in front of like train tracks, looked like she was about to jump in as a train was coming by. Karen stops her. They let her talk. She explained that she's a single mom. Her and her son just moved to the town, but she's having trouble getting a job because one, Kenta's mom looks insanely young. Like you would think she was maybe someone in her 20s. Like she's not, she doesn't look so young that she could pass off as a high schooler, but she's young enough like you don't think she would have a kid that like that's already in high school. That's how young she looks. And funny enough, they do point it out a lot, especially in the manga too. They're like, there's no way this is your mom. She's insanely young. We do find out she was around Karen's age when she had gotten pregnant with Usui. So actually, let's do the math real quick, because that's the case. Where is it? Here we go. So she had him at 16. Whoops. Sorry, give me a sec. There we go. So she was 16. And then by the show, he should be 16. So yeah, she does not look like someone who is in her early 30s. She's like someone who's at least like maybe 10 years younger. But because of that, she is constantly getting harassed and like guys in like her possession in her job are using their authority or just using the fact that she's new and she looks so young to try to like force her into situations like, hey, if you do a little something for me, I can make your life here at the job a lot easier. I can get you certain favors. And it's just like, really. So the fact that's stressing her out, she'll constantly getting fired or having to leave jobs. And, with it, she won't be able to support her family. And Karen starts to react. She's totally just unhappy about all this and just doesn't know what she's supposed to do. With that, Karen starts reacting to her, ends up biting her, and then towards the end, with Ren's help, erases her memories of the whole situation. Didn't even happen. Doesn't even remember meeting them. Mom gets perked up because she was working at a grocery store when like the manager was trying to make the moves on her. She accidentally clicked like the intercom, and everything that was being said was being lived in the store, so everyone heard what he was saying. And with it, he had like tracked her down, saying that it was her fault. He had gotten fired. What she's gonna do to make up for it, and all that. And she immediately punches him. It's like, fuck off. What makes you think you're so great just because you're a man? Pardon me. That doesn't mean anything. I'm a woman, pretty much, giving her like confident boost, making her way more happy. Actually, give me a sec. Whoops. Ugh, sorry about that. My throat just got real dry. Where was I? Oh, mom gets upbeat, she's just standing up for herself, and that's when her brother realizes that what she's drawn to is a human unhappiness. So they're like, oh wow, that's kind of a horrible thing to kind of be drawn to. But they're like, well, it's not that bad. Unhappiness isn't that rare of a trait. It can happen to anyone. Anyone can just be in a slump of unhappiness. So they're like, it would be good, there are a lot of unhappy people in the world or something that can cause someone to be unhappy. So, if she needed to, there are plenty of people that she can, inject her excess blood into. And then this whole time, Usui's seeing her, but not really fully understanding what's going on. Things aren't adding up. Until he one day, like, full on sees her bite someone. When she does try to, like, play it off, he, like, grabs her and tells her to wait. Karen is screaming for Anju to help, to erase his memories, saying, like, this can't be good, he can't be here, he can't know this. Turns out it was all Anju's plan. so that during the day Karen can kind of have like a protector, someone who knows her family's secret, knows her everything. So if she needs a little backup that her family can't provide for during the day, that's where Usui comes in. So with a little persuasion from her family, he does agree to it, especially with everything he's done already. At one point, he did see her get like her massive nosebleed, and instead of announcing it to the school, just quietly actually just cleaned it up and brought her home. So that's when I guess Andrew got the idea that we can trust this guy. Look out for her and kind of keep an eye on her. And through that, we just see them going through their everyday lives, her trying to find ways to decrease his unhappiness so she doesn't have to bite him, them just growing closer. And with that, eventually Karen realized that she is developing feelings for Usui. At first, she plays it off that, she's just wanting to be there for him because he is holding this huge dangerous secret for her behalf, so she wants to like be there for them, help him out, and if she can do that in a way to decrease his unhappiness so that way she doesn't react to him like that again, then yeah. But at one point she does eventually come to the terms that she can't deny anymore that she has fallen for him, and realizes that that's just a whole nother thing that now she has to deal with. Because not only is she a vampire, he's a human. She's already an unnormal vampire. And she has now fallen for the guy who is his unhappiness is also triggering her nosebleeds and her excess blood increase. So it's just a whole roller coaster. Pardon me. So with that, somewhere at one point we do get introduced to the Sinclair family, and this is around the time we also get introduced to her grandmother, who tells her like, listen, I do understand kind of what you're going through. We do find out that many years ago she too had fallen in love with a human, but knew, but like at the time maybe thought that it could work out. But at one point when she, you know, um, and then she was kind of pretty much in the same predicament as Karen. The person she was in love with was someone she was also drawn to their blood preference, which was love. So the fact that he was in love with her made her be drawn to sucking his blood, but knew that if she did, it could drain away the feelings of love he had for her and he wouldn't feel that way for her anymore. That was like her biggest fear. But at one point, when she was being hunted down by the town she was living in at the time, he had found her, rescued her, but they had gotten trapped. She had no energy to escape, so he offered up his blood, but she was like, no, I can't do that. For the fear that she had, but he promised her that no matter what, his feelings for her were true. They wouldn't just magically go away just because she sucked his blood. And with no other choice or option, she decided to trust him, did it so that she can get the strength to escape. But to her fear, as soon as she did, she he freaked out, kind of pretty much his love for her had gone away, attacked her, stabbed her, and with it, she did, like, placed a curse on him. And with it, I don't know if it was the curse or just, like, in that moment afterwards, he had snapped out of it and realized what he had done, pretty much. But then we find out that that great ancestor that she was in love with turns out to be a member of Winter's family. That after, it came to light that he was involved with a female vampire, pretty much shunning him and his family, him and his family decided that the only way to regain their honor, to get rid of this humiliation that they suffered, was to hunt down Edna as well as anyone else sharing her blood, so that way they can rid the family that caused them such torment and disgrace. So And then I forgot what episode that was when she find out that Winter was a part of that family. She was like, oh no. Like she already at that point had feelings, realized she had feelings for Usui. So learning that the guy that pretty much was like, oh, he's in love with her, many years ago, my grandma and your like great great grandfather had, were in love at one point. So, but now Karen too is also going through her own tragic love story of her being a vampire and falling for a human. But things just get even worse. At one point, Anju's abilities awaken, which, like I said, at this point, it was jealousy of the loneliness, and the first person she ends up buying was Maki because at this point Maki had developed feelings for Winter, but he's only ever had eyes for Karen. So even though she didn't want to, she was getting jealous that the guy that she was falling for wasn't giving her the time of day, was fawning over her best friend, and with it, it awakened the abilities in Anju, and she bit her, biting a human for the first time. It did get Karen pretty upset, but she was able to overcome it, saying like at the end of the day, Anju is her sister. She does love her, and it is something that all vampires just had to go through. But things take an even more drastic turn because at one point, her family are trying to find a way to turn Karen into a full vampire. When they do, they pretty much tell Usui that pretty much the agreement they have is now null and void, because once they do the ritual to make Karen a real vampire, she won't be able to go back to school anymore. She'll be able to live like a true vampire. She'll only be able to go at night. She'll be able to drink blood, and pretty much will have next to no not really physical, well, kind of, but it won't have any emotional ties to humans anymore. And when Karen hears this, at first she doesn't want to because she is still going over her feelings for Usui and all the ties and friendships she's made over the years. She doesn't want to lose that, even if it meant becoming a vampire. And at one point was even willing to like give that all up if it meant being with Usui and the bond she connected with. But with the plea of her family, they were able to talk to Usui, and he was able to kind of come with the conclusions, not with the conclusion, but the solution for them both, saying that even though he, at this point, he didn't really, hasn't said it, but we can definitely tell at this point that he too has developed feelings for Karen, wants to be with her, but not at the cost of her losing her connection to her family. As someone who only has his mother, the struggles they went to, he knows just how important that tie and connection to family is, and he never wants to be the reason why Karen would lose that connection to her family. So tells her that they can't see each other anymore. Your family found a way to make you a true vampire. You'll be able to be with them and be with them forever. That's the best option for you. But when at that point, even though she is completely heartbroken, not fully understanding why he's doing this, but after running away from home and her family freaking out and hugging her, for finally coming back, even though and her heart doesn't really want to, does put on the brave face that says she's willing to go through the ritual to do it. That's when they get attacked by Winter and his grandfather, tracking them down, wanting to get the revenge. And at one point, it's pretty bad. We think Elda's been killed when they go to the place where well, no, I said Maka, like, where Karen first bit someone and her unvampire abilities kind of awaken. Cause that's where they have to do the ritual. It's where she bit someone for the first time. So they go there. The Sinclairs track them down. The grandfather, at one point, it looks like he had pretty much killed everyone else in the family, was about to go after Karen. But Kenta jumps in, is able to calm her down, bring her back down to her senses. And with it, we find out that the family were okay, even though they were severely stabbed or shot or a whole mess. that they are more durable than actual humans. So even though they were hurt, did lose a little blood, it wasn't to the extreme that it would have killed them. Decides with Karen's request that the best thing to do instead of killing him and continuing on the hatred were to do all the use their preference to suck out his lies, his pridefulness, his stress, his jealousy, and his unhappiness to make him a brand new person who quits being a vampire hunter, wants to just be a regular person, living on his days with his grandson. And at this point, even though they haven't fully said it to each other, we do know that Karen and Kenta do have feelings for each other and will continue to just be closer to each other. And they just get teased at the end of that, they've gotten really close, even though they haven't officially, dated yet. So I would say that's pretty much how the anime ends. But I did say that with that, the manga is very different. We do get a whole different story arc that happens um around the time in the anime where Winter and the Sinclair family would have played a part in, where we get introduced to half. Well, like I said, I'm not gonna spoil too much. 'Cause I think you should just read it because it actually is really good on what happens. We do get introduced to the premise of half vampires, which is actually something they thought was impossible and non-existent. We find more about Karen's rarity, what she truly is, and kind of her significance to the vampire world. And we do get introduced to other families that are hunting down Karen for that exact reason. And we do get a bit more development for their relationship. They do officially start dating in the manga a lot earlier in the than they do in the anime. Actually, I don't even think in the anime they they aren't. I don't even think they're like fully dating in the anime. Like I think at this point they know they have feelings for each other, but I don't think either of them, my remembrance actually said that they like not one of them full out said like I love you, I'm in love with you, but do know that the other person is important to them. They can't imagine their life without the other person in it. But in the manga, it is really different. At one point, they do come to the terms that they do have feelings for each other. They do announce that they have feelings for each other. They even share a few kisses in the manga. Oh, it's so cute. And I guess that, yeah, I'm not gonna spoil because it's just really good on what happens. The ending is kind of not bittersweet, but it is sad. It does have a sad thing that ends up happening, but it does end up working out in the end. Everyone is content to the fate that happens, and Karen gets her happy ending in the end, and I couldn't be happier. It's so cute. And funny enough, we there's a bit of a storyline that happens with her brother that plays a bit in like some of the special chapters that happen in the end. It's really funny. So, but yeah, so with that, I think that's pretty much it. What would I recommend this anime to? For people, I would say yes. If you like a comedy, romance, vampire, anime, I definitely would give it a try. As someone who at one point only ever watched the anime, and never knew or could find the manga, I actually really enjoyed it for many years. Um, but after reading the manga, I do wish. I mean, at this point, this manga, well, the anime and the manga are damn near like over 20 years old. But I would love for a remake that follows the manga more and then getting the true ending that we got in the manga. But if not, I definitely say just go read the manga, kind of seeing what the anime did different compared to that, and just if you like the anime ending or the manga ending. I definitely say the manga ending because it kind of gives like inclusive of this is the end, this is the epilogue, everyone getting their happy ending and whatnot. So So with that, we are done. Like I said, I normally would do other stuff, but even with me talking like this, my ears been driving me nuts. So we're gonna have to end it here. I will have the audio version of the podcast up in. I probably will do it. Speaking of, I think let me go here. Give me a sec. Turn that off. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, like I said, normally I would do something like go see some reaction videos or maybe do some quizzes. But even though the fact that my ear is not fully back to normal, and even me just talking with this was driving me nuts, I think I'm just gonna go rest, give my ears some relaxation. Will I be back today or tonight with a stream? I'll see how I feel. If what I'm gonna do ends up helping out, I kind of will. If not, I definitely will let you guys know when I am back to normal and can get back to getting hopping back onto playing a game or something. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me. I want to thank everyone again so much for coming. Whether wait, I thought I blanked. Oh right, before I head off, next episode is when did I put it? Was it this week? No, 31st. Alright, so 31st would be the last podcast episode for this month. And like I said, if you haven't already known, we will be discussing OG Yu-Gi-Oh! So Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters on the 31st. So definitely look forward to that. So anyone who is a huge Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan or grew up watching the anime, or maybe you're someone who got into the anime, or the whole genre years later, to come join me as we talk about the OG Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, where it all started for a lot of people for us. But with that, I'm gonna head out. Do hope everyone had a great day, night, evening, whatever you are. Remember, I do stream here on Twitch and YouTube at the same time, so you guys can check me out on either or. With that, I'm gonna head out, give my ears some rest. But until then, I'll see y'all next time. Bye!